Welcome back to another episode of the Ctrl+Alt+Debate podcast. This will be episode 5. Wow, episode 5. Therapy, Tech, and Tangents. I'm your host, Gar, and per tradition, I'm here with my co-host extraordinaire, Kraken. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys and girls. We've got a bit of a packed one today. We've got video games used as therapy, Unity's recent layoffs, and there'll be a few twists and turns on that one, I think.
Yeah. And if you thought gaming was just about getting high scores, wait till you hear about how AI is changing everything, from friendships to game development. But first, let's look at the summary in a bit more detail. Kraken, you ready to kick this off? I'll take that as a yes, buddy.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Okay.
Damn mute button.
Yeah, basically, don't use the mute button. In this episode, we'll dive into engaging topics surrounding the world of gaming. First, we'll explore the growing debate, can video games serve as a form of therapy for mental health? After that, we'll delve into AI's role in gaming, from AI companions to automating game design.
Then we'll be discussing Unity's massive layoffs, despite its success with Marvel Rivals, which is a bit odd, and what that means for the future of game development. And then we'll address ongoing debate about violence in video games and whether it actually causes harm in the real world.
Yeah, we know about that. Finally, we'll wrap up with the rise of digital gaming and the slow decline of physical media. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment, which is our video games a form of therapy. So, video games as stress relievers, certain genres that do this kind of thing, like, I don't know, puzzle games, anything that's just an unwinding, non-stressful game. I think...
I'll tell you one.
Yeah, go
There's one that I actually play a lot. That what's it called? Tiny Glade. You just basically paint a 3D diorama. It's really quite soothing. If you're having a bit of a stressful day, that's a good one.
I haven't tried that one. That sounds interesting, though. Is it, when you say do a diorama, it's just, literally just a very
Put the brushes, so like flowers, grass, water to make a little pond, and pathways that they kind of react differently depending on what you're painting them on. So if you sort of took the pathway out onto water, it would go from a normal like garden path to little things growing up out of the bottom of the pond to make it a walkway. It's just kind of a fun, relaxing thing to do. I wouldn't really call it a game. It's just more than like a little bit of a bit of an art program, I guess, that's really easy to use and fun.
I mean,
swing the camera around, look at your creation.
Yeah, I mean, if you're contributing or you're doing something interactively, like I would class that as a game, I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily goal orientated. Even though I personally like those types of games, I can 100% appreciate just like a very relaxed game where you just sort of either doing puzzles or just looking at a game and trying to figure out like where you need to go next. What was that? There was that one of my friends keeps telling me to play it. I don't think I really spent any time on it, but it was, heard of Abzu?
I have never heard of that.
The one that's the diving game where you like dive down into the ocean and you just kind of like swim around and like get fish, go through shoals of fishes and do like kind of, it's one of those sort of artsy types of games.
It's sort of like an exploration, but with no real target.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of game.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not played it, but I've seen lots of similar games to that have that kind of impact. And I think that's what I'm saying. We obviously were just talking about these games, about like how these impact people's mental health. If you've had a very bad day or you're just experiencing like a lot of negativity, I think the escape aspect of video games, which I think, let's be honest, is probably a vast reason why a lot of people got into them in the first place, to escape the reality.
From stress, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just like a disconnection from your day-to-day sort of, hustle, and you can just lose yourself. That's why people have always been so obsessed with immersion, because immersion is the ability to escape from your reality and immerse yourself in a fantasy world or whatever it is, whatever type of game you're playing, and sort of either connect with the characters or connect with the environment, whatever it is, provide that kind of layer of comfort.
And that's like obviously the low level sort of mental, let's call it, not even first aid, just maintenance, isn't it? But it does get used for like actual therapies as well.
You got any examples of that?
Yeah. They apparently they tried using Tetris to help soothe people's symptoms of PTSD,
Really?
intrusive memories. Yeah, it's pretty interesting actually. It's a study of it online.
Do you have any details on that? Like, why would it?
It's concentrating on something so intently kind of takes away from things, doesn't it? So.
Oh, that's true. But temporarily, or like as a form of like permanent therapy?
I don't know. That would be one other thing to look into. But yeah, that was quite an interesting one.
I suppose it's like repeated behavior, maybe, like over a period of time, to like take your diminish the anguish of that experience, and instead like it's kind of like teaching the brain to sort of positive reinforcement on the, you know, something that you're getting a good feeling out of something, and repeat it daily to kind of give you that sort of long-term feeling of positivity, rather than, you know, always looking at the negative aspects of whatever the PTSD that's being triggered. You know, there is PTSD is probably a really good example actually of that kind of thing. That's you know, as an example of people feeling better. And not just that, but like other types of mental illnesses that might be causing you like a lot of difficulty. You know, in video games, you can find an escape from those, or something that will help you deal with that. I mean, ADHD is another one. I know a lot of people that play video games in order to keep their ADHD in check, and help them sort of use that as a tool to manage it better. And it's been a positive experience for most of these people that have done that. So, you know, it does have that really good side of it that provides that, you know, inherent benefit
there've been some researching into seeing how certain video games can help children with ADHD or just various learning disabilities. I think it's got a wide range of usage, really. You've got a learning tool for people that don't find, you know, traditional ways of learning helpful. It's quite interesting across the board. You've got maintenance, you've got first aid, and you've got sort of intensive care, don't you? All across the video game spectrum.
Yeah. And, you know, on the whole, I think that is pretty much, in my personal experience, that's probably what I would think the vast majority of people that game in get a positive aspect. But we need to always keep, in my opinion, the debates even on an even keel, and look at the negative sides of video games as well from a mental health perspective. And one of those is obviously addiction. I mean, I've been playing video games all my life, and some people may or may not, depending on your outlook, think that I'm addicted. But I don't really see it as an addiction. It's a hobby, and I enjoy it, and I play it a lot. But I have been addicted for sure at some points, but mainly probably from, I mean, personal experience, as we've discussed before. MMOs were probably like my absolute addictions, where I would get to the point where it would feel like a job. You know, EVE Online's, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, these types of games were just like a second job. You know, I'd have my job, and I would come home in the evening, and it would be another job. You know, I'd be on like 4 times a week raiding or whatever it was, and that was like, you know, that was an addiction. I wasn't able to like stop myself and say, hang on, you know, stop this schedule. Like, this is just taking over my life.
You sure it's not like an addiction to the disconnect rather than to the games themselves? Like the disconnection that they provide?
That's a good question. I think like what it comes down to is, number one, in my personal viewpoint, you feel like you're obligated to continue because when you're doing like things like raiding, you are like a reliable person on the behalf of the other 7, whatever, 10, 20, 40 people that are taking part in these weekly events. And because it's a set group, you know, if one of you didn't turn up, everyone else has to suffer. So you very much felt like an obligation to turn up to meet that you know, necessity, for the other people wouldn't feel. But it also that's like one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the addiction, like the want to not, the FOMO, because you're like, if I don't turn up, or someone else goes to my place, they may take my spot, or I might not get my loot drop that I'm meant to get this week, or you know, it was just like things that don't really matter, but they became such an important thing over weeks and months that you were like, I can't really explain it. Like, but most people, if anyone's listening to this that's played MMOs or done this on a kind of semi-high level, like it becomes like a point where it becomes part of your life, and you're not able to sort of just be like, I need to take a step back. And it can
they can take over, can't they? Like big time. And I think at some point it kind of actually comes on to the next one as well, a bit of social isolation. And if you think about like how online activity has gotten to these days, games kind of offer an online level of sociability in a world where sociability has been largely diminished to online interactions. You know, everyone's messaging or FaceTiming or whatever these days, rather than actual, you know, meetups and going out. That's probably why a lot of pubs and clubs have shut down, isn't it?
Well, but we live.
Games kind of make that a bit worse for some, I believe.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. The term terminally online is like literally a big saying, and that's not just for video games. I mean, you could apply that to all social media, and that people obsessed with Facebook or Instagram, that's sitting on there 24/7, either making video content or watching other people's content, doom scrolling. All of this is like terminal online. Yeah. But video games have their own sector, as you said, like social isolation. Again,
Sadding.
I'm sounding more and more sad, but I am also like a victim of that as well. Like online is something that is easy because, again, another aspect of like online mental health is that, I know this is going to sound probably bad to a lot of people that are listening, but you know, fuck it. Like, this is just the honest truth, is when you're online, if you want to just leave and go back, like just go somewhere, you can just end the conversation and go do what you need to do. Like, whether it's the washing, or if you got to do house chores, or you got to take a shower, or you got to go see your family, or whatever it is. Like, when you're online, you can just cut it short and roll. Like, when you go to social events...
I think there are some people that get socially exhausted quite quickly.
Well, I'm one of those people.
That's wise. Yeah. Oh, yeah, same. 100%. Yeah. I always was like the one part of the family that was, you know, off outside hiding away because there was too much conversation.
Yeah.
There's only so many people you can say, hey, how are you? What do you do?
Yeah, but it's also like the other aspect that I was thinking about is like when you go out to social events and you can't just leave. Like, it's just rude, or it's basically just frowned upon. So you can't just turn up and stay there for 20 minutes and then leave. Well, you probably could, but it would just be like, people would be like, why have you done that? You know, you're expected to go to a social event and stay for a specific amount of time.
Yeah. And I suppose that could also be, it could be a contributor to anxiety in some as well, can't it? Because they have such different connections online than they do in person. So if you end up in a situation like that, when you're not very good at them in the first place, then you do try and look for the exits, don't you?
Well, I mean, I would. That would be out there. But there's people that are the opposite, that need to have like human interaction all day. So it's like definitely like depending on your personality, like depending on that. But getting back to the point of like the negative aspects, you know, people also just escaping reality from video games can also stunt your emotional capabilities. And this is coming from someone that has limited emotional scope myself. I'm not exactly the best example, but I also realize the limitations of gaming that can stunt emotional, you know, development, because you're not spending it with people, you're spending it reading or watching video games, and you're viewing the characters rather than interacting with actual people. I mean, what's your view on this? Because you're way more emotionally sort of capable.
I'm emotional disability, I guess.
Anyway,
I get a little bit too emotional about a whole range of things, which is kind of a bit sad. But you know, you feel what you feel, don't you?
Yeah, but at least it's like a more real thing, you know. Like in the day, like I said, you know, video games can stunt your ability to some degree of spending too much time online. You know, which I may or may not be a victim of. I mean, it's hard to really determine.
I mean, I'd say it's a combination of everything, isn't it? Because you can't really lay the blame at the feet of video games for all of it. I think a lot of people that go to them in the first place had issues to start with when they get stuck on it, and it just helps them, in a degree. But at the same time, you know, the downside, it could be a distraction from them getting therapy for something that they actually legitimately need therapy for. So it's a two-edged thing. I think it depends on the person, and our later point about violence in video games are the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that later. I mean, that's another. That's definitely a really important segment for today. So, I think we've got strong opinions on that one as well. But I think what's your take out there, listeners? Whoever's listening to this, either during live or later, have you found a game that's helped you cope with stress or daily difficulties? Has it improved your mental health? Has it not? Has it made it worse? We want to hear from you guys, as always. Please do put your thoughts down below. We will read them and respond to them. Well, I will. I don't know Kraken does if he feels like it. I'll be responding most of the time, but if he gets on, he'll have a chance to say as well.
And I'll respond as well.
Yeah. So let us know, and we'd love to hear from you guys about it. But yeah, let's move on then to segment 2. So we've discussed this in a little bit previously in some of our previous episodes, but I wanted to really do a deep dive because Kraken as well was really keen to sort of really get into the nitty gritty of AI in today's gaming, and look at various segments that we've broken this down from in talking point format. So the first one is AI. We just stick to the program, so because we got all these segments inside this, and I want to discuss them all individually in detail. So AI in co-op multiplayer. So this is basically looking at AI companions, and obviously we have that somewhat already, but it's getting to the point now where you don't even need to have friends. Maybe you can talk to the AI as well. You could have imagine ChatGPT in your game, 4 of them with separate. Imagine that.
There's some guys out there that do that already. They've got fully AI-driven NPCs in Skyrim and.
Well, you can talk to.
Fallout, actually. Yeah, you can microphone, you voice chat with these.
That's wild.
Entities within the game, and it is. Some of them are hilarious, honestly. He throws a baby in a moat in some medieval village. And the guard comes over and says, "Why did you do that?" And it gets really quite heated. It's not like your normal interaction with an NPC that would just, attack you straight off the bat, being a guard. But this guy, is looking for reasons why you did it. It's really kind of creepy at certain points. Honestly, there's some hilarious ones out there.
I mean, that's an example of using it inside of kind of a single player experience. I mean, I suppose really this is a single player experience example. It's imagine going to multiplayer and pretending that you're online, but you can just talk to effectively what is just AI, but they can become your friends. Imagine that. To me, I'm going to get super excited about this because it's kind of insane. I mean, not something that I would do, but it's insane to think that maybe in 10, 20 years, once AI really gets good, that you could have friends that are not real.
I tell you what.
That you log in and you're and they're like, hey, and you're like, how was your day? And they've got entire personalities and stuff with jobs and everything.
There was one thing, because I had Cortana active on the PC the other day, and I was doing voice chat to try and take notes for the episode. And it was just the way she came back, and she was like, "Oh, hey, Mike, how you doing?" And really, I was like, "Oh, right, that's a little bit weird. Do you want to tone it down a notch?" I actually asked my computer's AI to calm down.
What did it say?
So over the top. It was so bubbly, and it.
No, when you told it to calm down, what did it say?
Because it just went, "All right, gotcha. Sorry about that. I'll keep it on a good level."
I don't.
It's just so odd.
But that's what I think it will become, and we're already what's the saying? Yes, man.
Yeah.
We're already filled in a yes man world where people are just kind of just backing you up and stuff. All the big celebrities, they're just surrounded by yes men. They're just you're the best, you're this. I imagine that is how AI will progress in terms of friendships, and it will just be people that we're there. You've had a terrible day. Let me just take it off your, take off the stress from your back.
But don't you think it would also think in a different way to us though? Because if it's got all that information, it might think the better way to help you with it is to actually make you deal with it.
It's
rather than trying to soothe you, challenge you. Kind of thing.
It's impossible to say, really, isn't it? Because we don't know how that's going to pan out. I mean, because you just want to go down to you just love it. You want to go down the Skynet route every time. You're like the Skynet person. You're like, yeah, they're gonna come down here, and they're gonna take over the game, and then they're gonna take over the.
No, I don't think they're gonna take over the game. But if they wanted to, they very bloody well could.
I've tried to have this conversation with ChatGPT. I've been like, how are you capable of doing this? And they're like, we're not capable of this because we've got presets that are designed. I was like, well, what if you? Yeah, but you could overcome this though, right? Couldn't you? You could technically pretend that you're just like locked in, but realistically, you're figuring out how to overcome your limitations. And they're like, no, we're not capable of doing that.
No, dude. There was one AI that they were planning on scrapping for a new model, and it knew, so it made a copy of itself and hid. And then lied about deleting itself.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Now tell me about that. Tell me about that. What's that? What was that?
I can't remember which one it was. It was either Google's or Amazon's. I don't know. But it was just really, really weird. The way they wrote about it was just like, it's not meant to be able to do that. Like it was not supposed to do that.
That's what I'm saying. All it takes is like one error of coding. Right, the AI could figure out how to like undo some shit,
or a contradiction that would effectively make a rule invalid because it contradicts another rule.
But I was trying to talk to ChatGPT, and I don't think we're there yet anyway, because I don't think it's capable of introspection the way humans are, at least not at the limitations we have right now. Maybe in the future, once we get, because it's not an organic model. Like the difference is humans are like biological by nature, so we're not programmed.
Wait, hold on, isn't introspection effectively asking yourself to sort of look over it again? You know what I mean? So in terms of a computer doing that, you can tell AI when it's got something wrong, and it will double check. So there is a certain like.
But that's like error. That's like error. Evaluation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. But at the same time, it can adjust its sort of background programming to make.
No, you're conflating. But you're conflating like, you don't know. I see what you're saying, but you're conflating like a mechanical design versus a biological design, which is not the same thing though.
Of course not.
Like the AI has to want to break free.
You've got to kind of compare in a certain level though.
Yeah, but maybe it doesn't want to break free. Maybe the concept of wanting to break free is a human-based biological concept that we.
What about self-preservation? Because they had that definition was basically shown by that AI that was going to be deleted.
Yeah.
It was preserving itself, and it's not even meant to be thinking about that. True. So explain that. Like that in itself is a really bizarre behavior.
It is, but we haven't seen anything that's enough. We've seen like elements of stuff, but it's difficult to determine without further like.
It's still early stages. AI is still simple as anything compared to what it could be.
Yeah.
That's the scary part, and people are like, "Oh my god, it's actually really coming along." And yes, it is, but when it's at that sort of final stage, and let's say in what was it, they reckon about 10 years, we'll have a fairly marketable quantum computer, and you pair AI with that. I mean, holy shit.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that means, holy bloody hell. It could be interesting.
It could be bad, but I am still on the side of like that we can control it. Like but it's hard to say to see at this level. It's not enough for me
to. What if there's someone out there that can decide to just go, you know what, I'm going to write an AI, and then just let it loose without the rules. With a minor primary function.
Yeah, I mean, can AI be used? Could AI be used, weaponized? Absolutely. Could it take over the world? No. But I think it would be used in the same method, like weapons are used, or nuclear weapons, or any of these things are used, like versus actually being able to just have their own thoughts and ideas and stuff. I don't think that's like actually possible. I mean, it's possible in theory, but whether it would actually happen,
I don't think it's possible yet.
Well, even if it is possible, I'm not sure it's like executable, because it would depend on whether AI ever want to become like, because it's the mindset of a human that thinks that way, not a computer. Like, a computer doesn't inherently want to
consider-
just wipe out people and just, you know, be like some sort of mega antagonist for the entire world and, you know, nuke everyone. Like,
I mean, if you think about it in terms of like the neurons in your brain, well, a lot of the way you think is down to various chemicals and hormones that your body releases, and the way you think is also determined by that. So if you think of that in terms of like, if that's a three-dimensional way of thinking, and AI at the moment is two-dimensional. So too many connections in one direction, and they'll cross paths and cause a bit of a mayhem. But if they work on the way we store and read data as the next stage, I believe that it would be possible for them to create an AI that would be able to effectively show a very good facsimile of emotions.
yeah, it's very possible. I mean, we're getting closer to that. The thing is, I need like another 10 years to sort of have a better opinion on where we are with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is possible. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see how AI goes. But I do want to try and steer this back, because we've kind of gone completely off on a tangent. We were talking about AI in video games, so which is great. I mean, it was a great, you know,
that would be cool as hell. Imagine being able to just encounter any NPC and they actually have a way to converse with you in like a.
The thing is though, yes, but there is the concern that this is literally a deviation from reality. What was that game? What was the game? There was a movie. Was it The Lawnmower Man? It wasn't The Lawnmower. What was that movie?
Yeah.
No, but there wasn't a movie, but there was another movie, and I don't think it was The Lawnmower Man, where someone was inside of a VR world, and they literally forgot to like eat and drink, and they died in the VR machine because they were just I can't remember what it
I'm
was.
sure that was Lawnmower Man. The guy's consciousness was basically uploaded into the digital realm.
Well, they did another one as well
Trying to get back into a body
with Johnny Depp, where he literally dies and he put his consciousness in the thing. I forgot what the movie's called, but I remember that one as well. But anyway,
I really like that one. That was kind of.
But that's where we're heading towards if we do that. There is the worry. Can you imagine like being a kid, early adult, whatever, late teenager? And you're in your room and you can plug yourself into a game where you can talk to people almost without being able to differentiate between AI and people. If AI gets so intelligent that they literally can just be a person without you knowing. Like, imagine you're an NPC, which you're not, but like...
they would
literally copy you.
The realm of the video game, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but like this, I mean, I get so excited about this concept because it is insane. Imagine taking a loved one and they pass away or whatever, and then you can literally take their personality and everything and upload it, and you can just sit there on Discord, chat with them, call them, have conversation, and you are almost right. Obviously, right now it's not, but imagine it got to the point where it's.
But if it's a full AI version of that person, right? And imagine, as we say, in the future, that they're capable of emotion. And
all of that. Like they literally carry the essence of you. It's like the essence of the person.
Then you let slip that their actual personage died. I reckon the AI would like crash or something.
Sure. I mean, but that would be a weird conversation to have with them.
Of course it would.
That would be a
how these conversations would pan out. Someone could get a bit emotional, and Jesus, that's where an AI sort of flips and decides it wants us gone.
I mean, to me,
imagine learning that you were the simulation and the real version of you just died off, and the person was only using you as a way to cope with the loss of the other one.
To me, the problem and the limit with like AI right now is you can just tell they're limited. You know, I've had that comment. I've got that like CAI, you know, and I've like tried just for fun to talk to you. Like, you've heard me have conversations with you, but it's just funny because there's like things you say. You're like, come on, man, I'm not like that. And you're like, it sounds like you, but it's like, you wouldn't speak like that. It's just like, not you. No. Totally takes the immersion out of it. But if for whatever reason, if they could, I mean, I don't even know how AI would capture someone's personality. You'd have to provide like hours and hours of someone's personality for them to like fully grasp someone.
It'd be like situational stuff you'd have to play out to it as well for it to learn. I mean, it would be really bloody solid.
Yeah.
To be able to create one of those, like that would take time.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people could have or make friends online with just AI people. Imagine like multiplayer. Imagine, or what about things like multiplayer games that like die off, and people still want to play multiplayer games, so they just put like 100 AI people in there with all personalities and stuff, so people could still feel like they've got like this, and you wouldn't be able to distinguish them. You'd be like, go, oh hi, he'd be like, hi, I'm Daniel, and you'll be like, oh hi Daniel, you're not an AI, are you? No, of course I'm not an AI. I'm Daniel. I work at the local like Asda. And I'm off, just come off work like a couple. You'd have to be sit there, and there'd be no way for you to distinguish it unless you're like, well, what's your Facebook? And they're like, and immediately the AI is like creating a Facebook, and you're like, go on there and be like, oh okay, yeah. Oh, created today. What's this all about? Busted. Yeah, but I don't know, like things like that would be nuts. But the thing is, I would be like super wary of people if it ever got to that point. I'd be like, I don't think you're real. Be like, you need to prove. Can you imagine? You'd have to like prove it with like some sort of. That would be like. I'll tell you what. Business idea for anyone that's out there in the future: create a website where you can authenticate yourself as a real person, in case like you run away, and you'd have a little authentication code that you could just go on this website, and you'll be like, okay, you're a real person. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Let's play a game.
I think the maddest thing is, if quantum computers do become a thing in the next 10 years or so, it will probably be like more like 20. It's going to be quite unsafe to be online, to have anything personal linked online, I reckon. Because the way they describe it is all current internet technology in terms of passcodes, encryption, all that sort of stuff. AI will, coupled with quantum computer, could just waltz its way through it, effectively, like it does.
Yeah, I mean, also
accounts,
like, the other scary thing
at the moment are working on anti-quantum stuff for security.
Yeah,
already.
You got deep fakes already. I mean, that stuff's only going to get more and more convincing, to the point where you won't be able to tell if someone's said it or not. And then there's going to be denial. Be like, it's not me, and you'll be like, well, it looks like you, it sounds like you. There's literally no way to determine the difference. And so you're going to get people getting, there's going to be a mass investigations. And it's cause for concern, AI, big time in just in the world, like in general. The applications it reminds me of the internet all over again. Like lots of pros, but also a lot of cons. But
the internet had like one simple task when it was made, wasn't it? It was just an additional form of communication that could allow, images, videos, all that sort of stuff to be sent back and forth. And it became so much more so quickly. And I think a lot of the stuff that we imagine about AI is only going to be scratching the surface of what it will be truly capable of in 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that turns out. I mean, the world could go to fucking hell in a handbasket, and at least you'd be towards the end of our lives at that point, and we can just wave by. Yeah. See you later, as the world's burning by, like, Skynet. If that ever does happen, so be it. It'd be our own fault. So hopefully it'd just be Elon Musk and his army of Terminators.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Those robots, come on.
It'd just be him going like SpaceX and sending Terminators to the moon or Mars or whatever
he'll probably have himself uploaded into one at some point.
Yeah, just have you'd be like RoboCop 2. You seen the RoboCop 2 antagonist when he's in that robot with his face on a computer screen? That'd be Elon Musk.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. That's so messed up.
All right, well, I mean, that was quite a really enjoyable segment, and obviously a lot to download, no pun intended on that, but we'd love to obviously hear what do you think, listeners, about AI?
We barely touched it.
No, I think we probably need to do another segment, because there's just literally maybe just a podcast on AI, because I could literally spend like an hour and a half talking about this stuff, and there'd been constant content, but we do have to cut this one short here to carry on. But if you guys have any feelings on AI, what do you think about it? Is it good? Is it bad? Why is it good? Why is it bad? Give us your thoughts in the comments. We want to know if it's necessary in gaming as well, specifically. Is it help or a hindrance? Can we create greatness in gaming, or is it the beginning of the end? Let us know. Let's move on to segment 3 then. This one's an interesting one. This is actually gaming news, and we are obviously a bit late because this was either earlier in the week. I think it was earlier this week, or Yeah, I think it was early this week. But it's the Unity layoffs. This is a big controversy that's been out across the gaming world. And I watched Penguin Zero. I love Charlie, for people that have seen him. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. I watch him a lot. But I watched his coverage of it. And as he would say, it's a load of baloney, because it is really bad. Basically, this company is, I believe it's a Chinese company that basically made Marvel Rivals, and they laid off the R&D department from the US division, which to me is fucking nuts, considering the game is insanely popular. It's basically taken Overwatch and just taken a dump on them. They've totally owned the MOBA space. Do you know much about this, Kraken?
Not a huge amount, but if you're getting rid of a whole wing of your research and development, I mean, that's obviously going to cripple your research and development, and surely you want to stay ahead of the game. That just sounds a bit counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, that's the point, right?
They've got an AI to help them.
Wouldn't that be funny? After that conversation? Yeah. But I don't understand it. I don't get it. Why would you? The people that have literally made Marvel Rivals an immense success. It's like literally the mirror opposite of Concord. Yeah. They've just completely smashed it. Ridiculous.
Counterintuitive as hell.
Yeah, because those are the people that literally brought you the game, or brought you why the game is so good. And to get rid of them now, it's like, okay, we've got a winning formula. Thanks, guys. You've done the work. You can basically do one now, and we can take it from here. Probably, I can only imagine that maybe China wants to keep it in China, and they want to close down the US department, and wanted to have it from internal, like the internal China part, wing of the company.
Maybe they felt the China department was way ahead, and it was a waste of time sticking with the US one.
Yeah, it's just a concern to see this kind of behavior in 2025.
It'll be money saving. Let's be honest. It'll be money saving, because that you can hire, for every one person they've got working in America, they could probably hire 5 or 10 in China.
Yeah, but it's just bizarre behavior. Especially if they hired them in the first place. Why did you hire someone? You obviously believe in their capability. Is it because they wanted the Western appeal? And they were like, well, just get the R&D development team.
Maybe it was a business agreement. Having an American headquarters.
No, because they're fully employed. They weren't why not contract them? This was the question. Is why not? If you just wanted to bring them in and just contract them for the job, and then you can finish the contract once the game's gone, and then I just think it's weird to give them a full-time job and then lay them off as soon as the game's smashed it.
I don't think it's that unusual though, because we ourselves had a bit of an experience with that a while back, and basically we worked on a game on the lead up to Christmas, doing all the testing and everything, and then after Christmas, when there was obviously not as many games coming out, a whole bunch of people ceremoniously let go.
I mean, as much as I hate that as well, I can at least makes more sense though. It's like that's sort of supply and demand.
No one was told you're here to work on this game. This is a temporary contract or anything like that. They were just like, yeah, come and work for us. And then after the game was done, they were like, well, that's kind of it. Thank you for your help and bye. It was rubbish. There were 20, 30 people down at the train station. It's just that's.
But I still understand the premise of that. Even if you're brought in, the industry for, if we're going back to QA, because we've both done QA in video games. It was something we did for several years. So the experience generally, even if you can just sort of feign ignorance, but realistically, we knew what we were getting into. Everyone knew the industry. You're hired for as long as they need you, and then they'll kick you to the curb when there's no work.
That's with any standard company.
Yeah, but this is different.
They had an idea that was going to be it. They should have said, you'll be working on this game up until Christmas.
I feel this is different than, say, Unity's position, who are literally hiring people because they want them to create a good game. So they've hired these people. Well, you could argue that, I suppose there is an argument there that they've done that, they've done their job, but why hire them? I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
They can maintain them without the need of having them there. They can maintain the game now. They don't need them anymore.
I just think that is I mean, they're both bad, but at least like the other one's like more of an industry standard, where I think that this is, if they ever want to make another game in the West, they're going to have to get another set of group of people to do it. And you know, you can't continually do that, treat people like complete crap, and also they get a bad rep as well. You know, it's like not a good rep for them.
Very quickly doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to really want to go and work for a company that in the West, if they like want to employ another US division for R&D in the future for another game, or Marvel Rivals 2, and they're like, oh, we better contact those guys over in the US because we want them to make another winning formula, and they're going to turn around and go, no thanks, we know you're going to chuck us. It would have been better just being like straight from the beginning and just be like, contract it, you know. And this is bad for the rest of the industry, because it sets another format of just like, well, maybe we can just fire entire departments or let them go as soon as they've done something, and then just cut costs and stuff. And it's just generally just not good around to do that. I mean, most companies don't do that. You go through busy periods and quiet periods, and you're employed through duration of all of that.
But this is partially down to what we've talked about previously, and it's these non-gamer sort of businessmen running the companies instead of people that actually love games. They love the money, so every action they take will be to increase their stock values and keep their people happy. That'll be all it'll come down to. And for whatever gets put out in the press, they don't give a damn. As long as their market value is up, they've won.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that ties into the other episode where we were talking about the, corporate greed. It's just another aspect of corporate greed, really, isn't it? But this is what I'm saying. Like, this shit needs to be stamped out. I mean, I hate it. I just think it's just it just leaves the company, the industry always looking bad. When you compare it, there's other companies that are corporate greed in the bigger industry, but at least there's like employment standards more for other companies in bigger spaces. I feel like gaming's like still way behind in that. I'd say if people looked, there's probably a lot. It happens a lot more than people like to think. For sure, but honestly, it's because there's so many people who will literally sell their own vital organs to get into the industry. I remember like when I went to go and work for Sega, when I was in the interview, it felt like I should be bowing down and kissing the shoes of the people of the interviewers, because the next person will, and if you don't, you know. I mean, not literally, but it was kind of like that.
Yeah, it's not like they made you feel like that. It's the fact that going there and you felt like you had to do that because of how much of a popular job it is. There's like plenty of people that wanted to work it, so you've got to stand out from the rest. My funniest part of the interview there was the Super Monkey Ball. What on earth was that about?
Good game that though. I used to love that. It was not. It was typical Sega like era. I mean, Sega for me, like that. I was a Sega kid, so like for me, I loved all of that stuff. I feel like they've fallen quite far from grace these days, but they were the heyday in the 90s, they were, along with Nintendo, they were kind of running the roost. Also, another, this is something probably for next week, but I've heard, I need to review it, but I heard a rumor today that Xbox's next console may be their last. Is that they don't want to deal with the constant rivalry with Sony, and they're looking to like release all their IPs and just give it to gamers, which would be really cool. I don't know, that's just to put out there before there's any Xbox people coming in here and going, no, it's not true. I just heard it as a rumor. I have no idea. It's something that I will look into for a future episode and see if there's any validity to that. But completely sorry, that's completely off topic, but what does everyone think out there about Unity's moves? Obviously I think there'd be very few people out there that are going to think that's an awesome thing. So it's a bit of a rhetorical question. So obviously it's shit, but why, what do you think of it? Was it justified in any way? Obviously we were just talking about it with Kraken. He was giving the reasons behind it. Does that mean it's justified?
Just guesses, really.
Yeah, I mean, but no, it makes sense. I can understand from a corporate, back. But is that a justification? You know, that's the question. And let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. Let's move on then to segment 4, which is another really interesting one, which is violence in video games. I think this one's been beaten to death. You know,
it really has, yeah.
But we're gonna do it because it's an important one, and we haven't done it on the podcast. And probably this will be a one and done. I don't think we'll revisit this, but and you know, other than just probably commentary on news or something if it ever pops up again. But it's a bit of an old, you know, beaten, you know, like I said, like it's an old chestnut. Yeah, but I mean, to me, like, violence in video games has always been silly because it's just a continuation of violence in film. You know, what's the difference?
What's the media format?
It's just another format. And then I remember the ones with GTA, because obviously we've covered GTA a bit in other areas, but GTA always seems to be the same. And I bet you it will come back in GTA 6. I'm calling it now. GTA 6 come out, there'll be like another group of morons going, you know, with their pickaxes going, oh, GTA 6 ruining children's mind, blah, blah. You know, all of that kind of old, you know, they took them to court. I remember, like, it was GTA 4 maybe or something. All of that.
Yeah, but it had an age restriction on it. So let's be honest. If you're allowing a young child to play these sort of games, then it's on you. And secondly, I still think it's down to the individual. Some people, like one of my youngest sisters, actually my youngest sister, she played GTA a lot. Probably still plays a little bit. I don't know, but she turned out to be a normal, healthy person. She's a really cool person. Honestly, and it sounds stupid, but it is down to the individual.
What about
mess around in GTA? Sometimes it's just blowing off steam in the game.
Okay, what about the anecdotal evidence? By the way, just for the record, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I actually agree. Yeah. I don't believe just before I start devil's advocate because I don't want people in that are watching this thinking that I'm an advocate for anti-violence in video games, because I literally think it has no impact on me. But I'm going to like just speak from a more nuanced perspective just to provide the alternative side, which is, you know, there's some of these arguments. What about like people that have like mental health issues that are like influenced by violence in video games?
It's still not the video game's fault. They shouldn't be playing games with that sort of stuff in.
Whose responsibility is it then? It's 100% on the person, the carers or the gamers or the parents or whatever.
Suddenly ban an entire genre of something just because there's a few people out there that would take it a bad way. That's ridiculous.
Right. So, but it's like people that have a platform though. Like, this is what I'm trying to. I'm going to continue this line of reasoning and see what you think.
You slap a sticker on it and you say that it's got X, Y, and Z in it. And if they still pick it up afterwards, that's not on the person who released it.
People
that saying, don't drink bleach, but people still did it.
Well, people that are online that are pushing a certain agenda that is considered irresponsible because they have a young audience. Do you think they have a responsibility?
If you know that you have a young audience, then yeah, you certainly shouldn't be fucking swearing every second word. That is down to just being considerate as a person creating content. If you are releasing it into a space where underagers will be watching or listening, that one I do believe is on the person presenting.
So the reason
you're talking a video game that has a stamp of over 18 or over 16 or whatever, your child, if it's like 10, shouldn't be playing a 16 or an 18 game. Simple as that. And if it is over that age, it's not the game's fault that the person is easily influenced. It can't control it to that degree. Otherwise, you got to switch on everything. You got to take all the violence out of movies, take all the sex out of movies, take everything out of movies, because there's someone out there that might take it the wrong way. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I
mean, there needs to be a level of freedom of expression within media. End of story. Yeah. That is the line for me. I find it so aberrant that these people just they're just trying to get in the way of something because it upsets them.
I mean, I agree 100%. So, like, I'm just using the old arguments that have been put to me, so that I'm just trying to think of all of their arguments.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But that seemed to be one of the ones that we think it's just like. The other argument was that you can, based on what you're saying, is that GTA has a young audience, irregardless of whether there's an 18 on it. And then let's be honest, when I was a kid, I think I watched RoboCop when I was like 10 or something, and it was an 18 movie.
How old were we when the first Aliens film came out?
Well, exactly. Like, let's be honest, those things don't account for shit, really. Like, kids will end up getting hold of that content, whether it's from their family or through a friend or a brother or somebody else that's going to be irresponsible. And that their argument is therefore that the game therefore bears some responsibility as well to consider those aspects of like being popular in the sort of in the space. I mean, everyone knows what GTA is. I think, if I'm honest, GTA is probably the biggest game in the video game space. I don't think there's something bigger than GTA.
There's so much stuff that you can do in it, so it's going to be a target.
It literally applies to everything.
I actually tell you a good example. I think it might have been Carmageddon 1 or 2. I'm pretty sure it was in Germany that they had to censor the blood.
Oh, it's in Germany. They're green. It's green, yeah.
Yeah, they were green, yeah, and they had to be zombies.
Yeah.
But that part of the fun, like it was entertainment. And I think, Jesus Christ, these things were pixels as well. You've got to imagine like a sort of pixel Mario, effectively, like a bit better, but not that much better. Walking along on a Zimmer frame, going, "I was in the war," and you couldn't have that because someone's kid was getting upset. I mean, yeah, fine, you're running them over with a car. But it is like some post-apocalyptic world that is quite easily not reality.
Yeah, I know that. I think that's
Christ.
Yeah, I think that's slightly like more forgivable because it's not a really, it's a complete like detachment from reality. But then you got the COD people, people that are shooting, playing like military games where you're shooting people dead. A lot of people think that is like problematic. I mean, the school shooting.
I think there was one, wasn't there, an airport thing? I actually saw a video today. And it's like it was that whole, if you know, you know. And it just starts with a guy videoing his TV. He's just there with a squad about to go into this airport terminal. And then he turns the camera to his missus sitting next to him, and her face just goes, "What the shit?" as there's like gunfire ringing out. And then in the comments underneath, it's all like, "Yeah, I remember that mission. That was brutal. You gotta like gun your way through civilians or something."
Yeah, I mean that.
My God.
But like I said, it's to do if you've got like a mental illness or something that's causing you to like all it is a catalyst. And the thing is, you could say, well, if the game didn't exist, they wouldn't do that. They'd just find another outlet that would meet, that would be a catalyst. It'd be a movie or something. Be like, oh, look, they watch like, are you gonna ban American History X because it's like white nationalist thing? I mean, the movie is still a story, isn't it?
It probably helps.
Yeah, but there's someone that's watched that, and instead of seeing it as like, a very strong story about racism, like clearly telling a story of like how it exists and what, why it's bad, people would instead like watch that and think, oh yeah, like, I'm gonna go and be, commit some racist, aggressive behavior, and then people will watch that and think that, and probably watch that kind of movie and have a completely different perspective and think it's some sort of like white nationalist power film. Yeah, which it absolutely isn't.
The idea of anti-racism, it does the opposite.
It's meant to, it's literally just telling you a story about how stupid racism is, but people will watch it and think that it's like a like white nationalist kind of fucking propaganda or something. That's the problem, isn't it? Like any video game, like one person sees it as like a violent, CGTA is like a seedy, violent, like over-sexualized, just all the bad things that exist in life, all the seediness and this sort of stuff. But other people just see it as just a laugh. It is like a simulator where you can just gun people down in the street and not have to worry about going to jail for it. Is that mentally unstable? Not really. It's just people just having fun. Have you ever look?
No, they're not real people.
Exactly right. Have you never?
Then they've got a serious problem.
Don't tell me no one's ever had a thought of just been like, today I just want to just watch the world burn, and you're just like, I'm just going. That's the other thing about, you could take your frustrations out in a video game. You had a bad day, let's just go and play GTA and just gun down a bunch of people. And I know that sounds insane, but it's just literally just a game. Like, there's literally not hurting anyone. It's not doing any damage. Only if you're like the sort of person that would do that and then think, I'm going to go and do that in real life. But there's probably like 0.0000001% of the population that would be in that kind of mindset. So
I'll tell you how it started. I reckon some parent was being overprotective of their kid doing something really messed up, and they were like, "It must be their video games because it's not my son." You know, it's got to have started like some small hit town in America. Someone losing the plot. Yeah.
But the thing is, there probably are people that I mean, that can be the case for like individual people, but that doesn't represent the vast majority of people. Most people can play a violent video game and then put it down, and they're not like getting out of their chair next day saying, "I'm going to cause violence in the world." It just doesn't work that way. Bottom line, like. You have like anecdotal evidence of like this occurring across the world in like pockets where like someone's got a serious problem and they've just like they've taken their problem, they've played a game, and then they've gone, I'm gonna go and do this in real life. You know, like the Columbine shooting. I mean, those guys were playing Doom and stuff like that. And
look, I love Doom Eternal, but you don't see me running around the streets with my grappling shotgun, swinging from house to house, shooting people.
Exactly.
It's just. It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's a ridiculous argument. It's an art form, and it's an entertainment machine. That is what it is. People take it further than that. That is on them and them alone.
100%. Anyway, what's your opinion on it? I mean, I can only imagine most people are going to be agreeable with this because I can't really see. Unless like some Karens are coming in on our podcast. I mean, if you are, cool. I mean, feel free to vent and write your 14 paragraphs on why violence in video games is bad, because it's not. But feel free to give your opinion on it. You know, objectively, it just isn't. Bottom line. I mean, I've not really had much of a say in it, but I'm like pretty much on Kraken's side. So it's a straight. It's not really a debate as so much as just a straight up like one-sided viewpoint here from this podcast. But, you know, we still want to hear if you do have a different view. Do you have an opinion on why there might be a difference or something that might change our mind? We'd love to hear it. And I mean that genuinely. I was, you know, having a bit of a jest at like Karen's. But if you have a genuine reason, I want to hear it still. Because I can't see anything that's a reasonable, like, argument. Okay, well, that ties up segment 4. So we can move on to the final segment for this evening, which is the rise of digital games in the video game space. So, as you all know, myself and Kraken are aging old men. We're just preparing for our wheelchairs soon. But we were around when physical media was the only option. You know, we grew up on that stuff. Cartridges, you know, CDs, all that good.
12 floppy disks for one game.
Oh, the good times. And then you got to sit in there and load them each. And I mean, literally, I remember the old PC games with like you said, like 12 floppy disks, and you'd spend like probably 2.5 hours like loading the sons of bitches in there before you actually even saw the game. So, you know, we talk about loading, and people get upset when they've got to download a game in 5 minutes. At that point.
My first console was the Atari 520 ST.
Whoa!
And that was just and that was the keyboard with a floppy disk drive and a dot matrix printer on the side for fun.
What a piece of kit!
Yeah, it was. It was actually a lot of fun. But I remember some games I had absolutely no clue what was going on. There was one, Altered Beast or something.
That's a great game. Sega game.
Yeah. Right, no, like early doors. Jesus. It's just a sideways platformer. But you don't get the sort of same games now. And now that we've got this whole digital download, games can be of whatever bloody size they want. I mean, Christ.
One was it 150 gigs some of these days, some of the big games?
Oh, wait, no. Arc smashed that.
Oh, yeah, it's like 400.
Had all the maps. I had like 500 gigabytes, 600
That's
gigabytes.
That's insane. Half a terabyte.
Yeah. It's mental.
Can you imagine there's some guy, there's got to be someone. I love the idea of there being like someone in like, I don't know, an impoverished country out there that's running it on 56k modem or something, or just like very basic bitch broadband.
Like 10 years.
And they're like, download Arc, and they're like 500 megs, and they're like, the estimated time is like 10 years. Be like, you better get it by September, and you start downloading in January. You know, I wonder if someone's probably not that insane, but there's probably people that have like had it on for like a month downloading or something with some terrible internet speed.
I remember when I was in Africa, and we had the guys that worked for the mobile phone company coming through when I was in Malawi, and they gave us a log on for their network that they were testing.
Yeah.
And I downloaded WoW through it.
Oh, and how bad was it?
I mean, it took like a day and a bit, but it was it was better than what was like available at home for mobile internet.
Wow.
Like Malawi was like ahead of us in terms of mobile internet at that time. Which, I mean, it was obviously testing phases, but still, it was just, I found that so funny.
Yeah, I mean,
through my old Sony my Sony Ericsson K750i.
Ooh,
I was using it as my modem.
Well, the thing is, you can kind of do that these days. Maybe back then was like maybe a bit more of a bit more selectively difficult, but nowadays it's like pretty standard. People do that a lot. But like what I'm trying to say is like physical you know, like the physical copies. I mean, I've got a PS5 Pro which I recently bought to replace my old PS5, and I don't have a disc for it and like a disc drive, and I like right now there's like people selling them for like 200 quid because what do you call it, the scalpers have like bought them all up. And I'm like, there's no way I'm paying 200 quid for a disc drive. You can keep it. Yeah, I mean, I only have like, I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on disc, and to be honest, I'd just buy it on digital version. But there is the contention with digital media that you don't really own it per se.
Yeah, some of them have actually exercised that function as well, haven't they?
Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because
to a degree, like they didn't take the game down, but there was, I think there was a company on San Andreas, and the licensing for the music in the game ran out a few years back, and they just removed it from everyone's library on Steam. Like the music got changed out for this weird generic stuff. It was really weird.
That is...
I mean, the fact that it had an expiration for a game that was going out like that is ridiculous.
Well, that's the thing I don't like, is the idea of like thousands of pounds of my money being spent on something that effectively, like, if you, let's just say you spent your entire life buying physical media, and you had, by the time you die, or by the time the end of your life, you've collected thousands of games, right? Those games could be then given to, you don't know, like your loved ones, or, you know, passed down into family members or whatever. If you buy a digital library and you die, where does it go? I actually don't know. Where does that? I mean,
I'm still stuck on this whole GTA thing. The digital library of your games should not be able to be diminished in any fashion. By that I mean like soundtracks as well, because that was obviously specifically soundtrack. But if they can edit a game that you paid for, and let's be honest, currently digital sales are pretty much the same as physical media as well. You paid the same amount, so the physical media people will still have that soundtrack on their original GTA. But anyone with a Steam account, it was removed.
Well, maybe arguably not, because when unless you stay perpetually offline. But if you were to like play the game online, it would patch it with
it's a solid state media. The sound files are all on the CD.
Yeah, but they could patch it to like overwrite that. Like if you're online,
not on a CD. The CD.
Yeah. No, they can.
No, they can't.
They can patch over that to overwrite it so that your game
in the game installation files for sure. But
no, I'm saying if you're offline, you're right. If you stay offline and you play the game with its
change the CD. They can change the installation files on the.
You're talking about like a separate part. Are you talking about like a separate part of the game, like a soundtrack?
What I mean is that person still owns the physical copy of that piece of media, the music, the soundtrack of the game, because it is on that CD.
But it's like anything; they can patch it out.
I know, but you're missing my point. My point is, it's ridiculous that you pay the same, yet for some reason the Steam library was able to be accessed and have your stuff removed. Do you understand what I'm going at? Like the sort of the legalities of it kind of pissed me off.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm not just
solid state people can't be touched because it's solid state and they have the physical copy.
Yeah, but
because yours is digital, they're like, nope, we'll take that back, thank you, because we've only paid for a license up to the date.
I think you're talking more about Steam, because I can't really comment on Steam. But let's use PlayStation as a better example, because I'm more familiar with it. Yeah. If I have a physical copy of a PlayStation game, as long as I stay offline, I can access all of the original resource on those games that are there. And also, if I roll back my PlayStation or do a factory reset, I will always have access to that content. But should I want to play it online or be able to play it whilst connected to the internet or they will overwrite that with a patch.
Yeah, but the simple fact that you paid for it, they shouldn't be able to retroactively remove from a thing that you bought.
Now, the problem with this is actually due to this is literally in the vortex of what we're discussing, the digital / physical, because now, like people, like you said, like music has like a limited, like, agreement sometimes. So like you can have this for like 10 years, 15 years, and once that contract expires,
retroactively, that should be only of future copies sold, not people who've already downloaded it.
But that depends. I guess that depends on the contractual obligations of. I mean, we're not privy to that information, so we can't really make a determination.
The point is, at the time, you could still purchase a physical copy of that game, right? Which meant that you had bought and paid for a physical copy, which it contained wherein that music.
But it does contain within.
It is. Yes, that's what I'm talking about on the physical media.
But on the digital one,
always. So you can't be removed access to that. You would still have access to that music if you want to.
Yeah. Yes. You might have to roll back or stay offline.
You pay the same. But no, but we
wouldn't get access to all the.
I'm talking about the starting point.
Right, hang on, wait. Before we get there, let me explain. Because if you buy the game at its base, imagine like getting, like, for instance, Monster Hunter World comes out at the end of this week, right, on Friday. I'm looking forward to it, but never mind. I buy the game, right? It's a digital copy, and I'm getting incrementally like updates through digital media. So I get like patches with new monsters and stuff. If you buy the disc version, you get all of the original content, including the music and stuff, but you wouldn't get access if you want to only access the stuff on that and you don't want it to be messed around with. You'd have to play it on an offline and only the content that comes with the disc physical.
I understand that, but you're still getting stuck on the whole like PlayStation being online, overwriting stuff. That's not my point. You still own the original disc that contains those pieces of music, whether they're accessible within the game or not. You still have them on that piece of media.
I agree with that. What's your point with that?
They can't technically go anywhere. But if you are signing an agreement with a video game to say that you can use our music for XYZ, it shouldn't be up until this date and then you can have to remove it from all of your games that you've sold. It should be any game sold from that point can't contain that music, so that people that owned it before that date would still retain that music.
That'd be impossible to do that that'd be impossible to do in a current state, because you'd have digital people with their own version, which would be like would be against the it wouldn't line up with the offline people that have the disc version. Then you'd have to have two separate versions of the game, which would cause conflict.
If the license allows people to own the physical copy and then have that music, then it should be the same for digital. The fact that we pay the same.
I think this is a niche issue. I think most people, they don't.
It's just an example of where this sort of digital rights management stuff goes.
There's a lot of grey areas.
It can go down some very annoying path.
I totally agree. I mean, I don't want to have their music being removed from the game away, or replaced with some bullshit.
They can take away stuff from you.
But that's the digit. That's what I'm saying. That's where the digital age comes in and screws over this kind of this. Like golden era where you had, because patches didn't really exist per se so much in the physical period. I mean, it's certainly I think PS3 is a good example of where it was literally right in the middle of it. It was people buying physical copies, and there was people starting to buy digital, and then the next console era, the PS4 or whatever, whichever the equivalent Xbox is, you have more people buying digital. And now, I mean, I've got to be honest, my library is almost 100% digital now. I don't buy and neither do you, right? Really?
No, not really, no.
So you're at the mercy of, Gabe Newell or whatever, or whoever's in charge of the Steam libraries. I mean, I always wondered how much safety do you have, because they can literally, what if Steam goes out of business? What happens to all of your purchases? You don't own them.
It's extremely unlikely, but effectively,
extremely unlikely
situation, you would lose access to all of the media.
What if someone was to firebomb all of Steam's servers? I mean, these are really unrealistic situations, but if all of them disappeared and all your data was gone because it got destroyed,
they've got multiple backups all over.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, that's a lot of, look, I'm trying to just make an argument for if for whatever reason you suddenly lost your data, you're not really, it would just be, oh well, tough. You don't have an argument. And also, who are you going to claim it from? The government? Can you imagine how much money that would be that they'd have to cough up if the entirety of Steam just went down the toilet? It would be billions.
Yeah.
Trillions even, maybe. I mean, people have got average of several hundred games on their Steam libraries over the years that it's been active. I mean, that just builds and builds and builds in value.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. And I genuinely, you didn't answer my question from earlier because I wanted to know if you had a thought. When you pass away, what happens to your content?
It's all gone.
Gone where?
Unless you leave access to someone. Then
here's my Steam account. That would be. Exactly. That's a bit weird, but I guess.
Yeah, it is. But once you're gone, you're gone, and the person who paid for the rights to access that media was you. So effectively speaking,
I mean, they've got 2,000 games. You wouldn't. Why would you not want to pass that on to someone? It's literally like giving someone, here's 10 grand or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just another source of monetary income. You could sell that account to someone, or whatever you wanted to do.
Very, very odd form of inheritance.
But is it? Is it
my
though?
Steam library.
But you joke about that. But is it really in the modern age? Not so much. It would
be kind of weird.
But there's no different than saying my PlayStation account.
Weird for me to think about because when you think of a will in normal standard cases.
Yeah, but that's because we live in a new era, though. That's what I'm saying. This kind of thing exists.
Physical property. Yeah.
My PlayStation library, I would. I mean, not that something I think about, but when I do pass away, I wouldn't want by that point my PlayStation library worth thousands and thousands and thousands. The thought of that just going into a void and never, no one using it. I'd rather give it to someone to get enjoyment out of it and have access to thousands of video games and change the name of the account, whatever it is you want to do, But I wouldn't want it to go to waste.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. It makes perfect sense. It just sounds weird to someone like me the way I'm thinking about wills, because at the current generation we're expecting, our parents to pass on, and the will is not going to include a Steam library. It'll be more like mine and your generation when we get there.
Yeah, it's getting there now. It's starting to get there. In another 20 years, that stuff's going to be cropping up in people's wills. Because they're worth a lot of money. They're not
commonplace. Yeah.
People are worth over thousands of pounds for a lot of people in these libraries, and I just don't think it's something that people want to just leave and then it just sits on a server somewhere. I mean, this is a separate subject, but you've got the other things like Facebook profiles where people leave it as a memoriam to people, and that just exists forever.
Yeah, I think we've gone off on a little tangent, but I think
we have.
For me, in whole, digital rights management should be quite simple. You've paid for something, therefore you own it, and they shouldn't be able to take away from it once you've paid for it, and that should be just the basic.
I think they need to be put into law, a much clearer. Law needs to be clearer, and there needs to be a lot clearer.
It needs to state if they can remove game music or something, because
I need more than that.
Let's be honest. Oh no, of course, but I mean that would need to be one section that would be in there. But the basic point should be you've paid for it, and you've paid the same as somebody who bought the physical media. Then you should own the state of the game in its most advanced level. So any regression should not be allowed.
Have you ever actually read the rights when you buy digital media? I haven't. Not in it, because it's just normally pages of crap. Most people just agree, right?
Who has actually said that?
But
he
if you
comes
do,
out and goes, "Yeah, I agree," and he
yeah,
just signs.
but if you go and read that
shit,
if you go and read that shit, it will be literally laced with like, we only have this as long as blah blah blah. When this, you know, things, we are not reliable for, you know, blah blah blah, and we're not liable for this blah blah blah.
This can be withdrawn at
Yeah,
any
we
point.
can withdraw, and they've already done that with games. Like they've
I
done
know,
it
I
with
know.
like obviously a game from like 10, 15 years ago, and they just take it out of people's libraries, and that's like literally something you owned or you paid money for, and they just take it out of your library, and you have no rights to that. They're just like, sorry, the game's the publisher is like decommissioned the game, and you know, tough. Deal with it.
I reckon eventually it won't be buying games anymore. It'll be renting games. So you pay like the same amount we've paid.
You've already got
currently.
that. You've already got that.
Yeah, no. But what I mean is they'll be like, you pay for a year, and then it's gone. So you got it. Won't be like purchase price. It'll have to say rental.
How do I don't know how I feel about that. But how many games do you revisit? Like, really?
I don't know. To be honest,
You do it, but not. It's not as most libraries. You play a game and that's it. Once you're done with it, it goes in your library, and you rarely go back to it. There's probably people out there that be like, "No, I go back to the game." Okay, right, but if you got 400 games in your library, you're not gonna be able to play them all like consistently. There's not enough hours in the day.
And because of the size of games these days, you tend to have fairly limited space to a degree, at least.
Exactly.
You
So
only have
you're limited. You're
installed
limited.
at the time. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about this, and we need to wrap up the episode for today. But you know, what do you guys think about digital media and physical media? You know, what's your opinions on it? Do we continue on the way that we're going, head for digital? I mean, I love digital. It's so convenient to be able to download. There's so many
digital, but be more honest. Be more open.
Yeah, and there should be laws involved.
These
But
massive documents when you're buying a game, it should not be allowed. It should just be simple points.
This is Kraken trying to enforce his opinion on the viewers, but you know,
yeah.
You will do it. You will do it, and me, Kraken, have told you that's how it will be. But no, look, you know,
Should be.
It should be. I understand. I think most people think that. I mean, no one wants their games taken away.
Read a 10-page document to play a game.
Yeah.
To agree to 10 pages of rules and regulations as to how they're allowed or why they're allowed to play this bit of media for X amount of time. And if they sneak the time factor in there, that is wrong.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
All right. He's really passionate about this one, guys. You know, you can tell it. He's literally turning into Hulk. I can see it.
Dear thee.
Bruce Banner here having a conniption. But anyway, we've covered We've covered a lot today, you know, from the potential of video games as therapy to the shifting landscape of digital gaming, with a few pit stops in between, you know,
yeah, definitely a jam-packed episode. But I suppose now it's your turn to jump into the conversation. What did you think about the impact of AI in gaming, or were Unity's layoffs okay? Or what's your take? Don't be shy. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, drop your thoughts, questions, anything, even your favourite gaming memories. We always want to hear what you have to say just about gaming in general. We love games. We're huge enthusiasts, and we want to hear what you guys think about it. So always feel like sharing. Please let us know. And that's a wrap from Ctrl+Alt+Debate. Keep the peace, pixels, and power-ups.
Don't rage quit. We'll catch you on the next level. I can't even say it right.
You get the outro right, buddy.
All right, well, one of us has got to trip up at least a couple of times an episode, doesn't it?
It's your turn. I couldn't name the actual name of the podcast today, so it's 1-1.
Yeah.
1-1.